So you probably have heard that we do final expense telesales, but do you know we do final expense face-to-face free leads? In today's video, I've got Mr. Joe Bushalaki, who is our manager for the face-to-face free leads program, on to talk more about how the program works, who's a good fit for it, why you may want to go the face-to-face route instead of telesales, and then give you some insight as to what makes for a successful face-to-face agent. Joe, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks. How you doing?
Yeah, been good. Thanks for doing this, man. So why don't you
Yeah.
give the audience maybe like a 30 to 60-second overview of who you are and what your role is here at the Dig Agency?
Yeah. So my name's Joe Bushalaki. I am the coach of the face-to-face career program at the Dig Agency. And the career program essentially is the free lead program for face-to-face agents. Uh, a little background on myself. I was in the call center industry from age 24 to age 38. It's about 14 years. It was more of like traditional appointment setting. I've done some telesales in some other industries for a couple of years, but that was a lot of my working career. And then I got with the Dig Agency in 2018. It's the only insurance agency I've ever been with, and I started running leads. I ran leads for about 4 years. First couple of years pretty tough, but then I started picking up steam after a couple of years, after about 3 years, and uh, then Dave, you approached me with being a coach here at the end of 2022, and now I train face-to-face agents to be successful running our fresh exclusive leads.
Cool. So let's talk about, first of all, interestingly enough, you were in a call center for many, many years
Yeah.
and you moved to face-to-face. What do you like about face-to-face, and where do you think there is a preference for it over, say, telesales?
What do I like about face-to-face? Well, I do like the I like seeing the people. I really do. I And you know what? I get enjoyment out of sitting in a room or at a desk and making phone calls. I mean, I think that's kind of enjoyable too, especially if I'm listening to jazz music and I'm just hanging out and but I do like going to see these people. I like meeting their family. Um, I think there's a level of gratification when I go to a house and it's like I don't want to say the deepest, darkest corner of society. I just mean somewhere where I'm helping someone that I can tell that needs the help, and I see their surroundings. And when they set up a policy with me, and I see the look on their face, so I think there's some really gratifying stuff about it. Now, aside from that, um, it's nice to just wake up and get in my car and go. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's nice to be out and about. But then let's talk more. I think agents want to know like, okay, well, what's in it for me money wise, you know?
Right.
And so I think from a monetary standpoint, I think face to face work I mean, I think it's one of those things where if you are willing to just do the activity and do what it takes, you can be successful. I don't think everybody can do phone work. Like there's some there's some highly skilled skill sets as far as like the tonality and just being good on the phone. You know, in a house, you can fumble in a presentation, you can get kind of messed up on words, but you can keep going and you can still get the deal. I think that anyone who's solid, who's willing to put in the activity, who just buys into the system, I think they can become real earners in face-to-face life insurance work and final expense work if they're willing to just get nose to the grindstone and get out there and do it. I think that's kind of like the big thing on why this is a solid strategy.
Yeah, I've always thought too that, given an agent who is new to sales, it's in for a lot of people. And I would say it's follow your instinct if you're out here watching this, kind of where you feel like your bias is, meaning telesales or in person. But a lot of people do better in person than they do over the phone.
Yeah.
There's just, why is that the case? I just think in person's more forgiving. Um, you can screw up your presentation. It's much easier to hang the phone up than it is to physically throw you out of the house.
Yeah.
There's other advantages to face-to-face sales, like I think the close rate's a lot higher. You see more of
Yeah.
your leads closed because the person sees you in the flesh. I think that's part of it too. And you would probably agree with me, you probably write more replacement business too, because you can actually lay your hands on the policy. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of people, they they don't have the accurate numbers on what their policy is. The two big things that I see out there is that one, the death benefit they think they have is not really what they have. And a lot of people think they have first day immediate coverage, but really they're in some type of waiting period. So those are really the two big things that I see out there. And because we have the ability to look at their policy and just go over the folder, and then also we can call the company. And as a telesales agent, you can call the company too, but it's just so risky to be clicking over to the other line and trying to three-way them in and all that. I mean, for us to just call the company and put them on speaker while we're hanging out at their kitchen table, it's really powerful. So yeah, I mean, if you just get the policy info from the folder, or you call the company, there's really a lot of opportunities that if you just that other than just if you take their word for it and they give you bad information and you think there's nothing there.
So what does it take to be successful face to face? I think there's a different skill set required to sell in person than over the phone. It's a different approach and sales process. Can you kind of go into that as far as what makes face to face unique, and then add to that, how do you train agents to be successful as well?
Yeah, what makes it unique, and which is our most effective strategy, and I think the biggest opportunity, especially right now, because a lot of agents are choosing to sell over the phone, is getting really good at door knocking. I mean, door knocking is where it's at in a world where people are getting phone calls for anything and everything under the sun, not just insurance, just anything, especially after the pandemic, right? There's a lot of people that have a lot of seniors that have submitted to just putting their phone on D&D and they just never answer their phone. And so there's a lot of good business out there that isn't going to do a deal over the phone simply because they won't answer. And if you just show up at their house, they're just ready to go. So that definitely the door knocking is the big thing.
Let's interrupt real quick, because
Yeah,
the objection an agent is going to have, or potential agent is going to have, is like, do people really let other people in the house? Can you kind of speak to that as far as how difficult it is to get into the door, and how
yeah,
really people are in person for again the
yeah,
neophyte that's never done this before but has kind of a
yeah.
preconceived notion?
That's a good question. So here's a bit, and this is like I think a lot. Just any salesperson out there should realize this, regardless of what they do. Is don't ever think that your mentality and the way that you think is the way that your customer or your prospect thinks. Because if someone just knocked on my door, even if I requested information, I'm not necessarily going to let them in. I got a young family, and like I might set up an appointment with them. I don't know, but here's the thing about our group of people: they're seniors. A lot. They're all most, for the most part, empty nesters. They don't have a bunch of kids they have to wrestle around. Um, Life is slow. A lot of them are lonely. And I'm not saying we're playing on their loneliness, but what I'm saying is when life is slow and you're retired and you're just hanging out, if you requested some information and a representative comes to your place and says, "Hey, I have the information, I got the request you wanted, and I want to give you the information," they are very open to just, yeah, say, "Come on in, yeah, come on in and talk to me." So it really, I think, until you actually see it happen and you actually knock on the doors of these final expense prospects, it might seem kind of off. But once you do it, you realize, oh wow, this is a very effective strategy, and these people are very open to just talking right here on the spot.
It's funny too. I mean, you live in California, right? A different culture than where I live in Tennessee in the South. But between our states and plenty of agents that live in other states in between us, I mean, that's how the market is. I mean, it's surprising, but part of it is all you do, there's skepticism with the door to door approach because all you hear is the negative, right?
Yeah,
Annoying salespeople, but you never hear from the 90% plus of people who don't really mind. And it's an independent decision they make based on who comes to their door. And if you know what to say and you know how to present yourself, which we'll talk about training in a second, like you'll be surprised. There's been many doors, just like I'm sure with Joe, that you're doing your pitch and they're just opening the door waiting for you to shut up to come right in. They're not all like that. But people are more approachable and more open to interaction in person than I think many people would believe.
Yeah, I agree. Just this past Thursday, I approached someone, and don't get me wrong, a lot you door knock and you're going to get people to say, "Oh, I thought you were going to call me first. I didn't know you were going
Right.
to show up." But I had someone who I did a deal with who, as soon as I started talking, she interrupted me and said, "You know what? I think it's really nice that you're coming over in person. I get so many phone calls. I don't know who I'm talking to, and I just think it's really good that someone that I requested info from comes over and is willing to spend the time to talk to me about this."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the people are out there that are still really appreciate people agents doing a courtesy to go talk to them.
And part of that is the old adage in sales is everybody hates to be sold, but they love to buy. And
Yeah.
that's why you don't ever hear the positive side, because we all, when we think sales, we immediately think something negative, some
Mhm.
painful interaction that was awkward or worse. We don't think of the pleasant ones, the many pleasant ones, in fact, we've had with good salespeople. It's always the negative stuff that shines. So I do want to talk about your training. So you've got a unique approach to training agents. I think this is the one element that a lot of agents really desperately need to be successful,
Yeah.
but don't ever get in most organizations. So go into how your training process works the first week, second week, and beyond.
Yeah, certainly. So the first week, we meet every day on Zoom for an hour and a half, Monday through Friday. So in the morning, we have one group meeting for 30 minutes, and we talk strictly about door knocking. We talk about all the details, what we need to do, what we don't want to do with the door, just all the how to practice, how to get better at it, da 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 da. And then every day, Monday through Friday, we have two one-on-one sessions with each agent. Each one lasts about 30 minutes apiece. And that's where we do a lot of role playing. We go over the presentation. And so that's our first week. And then at the end of the week, typically around Friday, we start diving into additional lessons, which have to do with like how to add coverage. We start getting into like the underwriting, the product knowledge, and all that. And that spills over to the second week. So Monday and Tuesday, we're going to finish up kind of classroom 101 final expense training. And then by that time, you should be getting your leads. You're going to get your leads right around Wednesday of the second week. And from moving forward, what we do is agents who are out in the field for about their first month, they meet with me in the morning 3 times a week, and we do role playing. And that's something that that's something that I wasn't doing when I first started training. But then I realized how effective it was, because what happens is agents, they get the scripting down for like a week and a half, and then we stop role playing. And then I noticed like a few weeks down the line or a couple weeks, they start like getting kind of cold on their script, or they start like skipping steps and they get a little rusty, or they create bad habits. So the role playing that we do 3 times a week for like the first 30 days out in the field, man, that stuff has really worked well with agents. And so we do that. So now someone's out in the field, right? And then 2 times a week, at least 2 times a week, we meet on a one-on-one basis, and we do reviews of your field days. We will listen to recordings if you're recording your presentation or door knocking out in the field. And so that's how we roll for at least about a month being in the field. After that, once an agent is fairly experienced, they're solid, they know how to write business. For me, I feel like it until an agent writes at least 15,000 AP, which really is not a whole lot. It's just if you go out there and do the work. But once they've done that over a 30-day period, then we can start tailing off where we meet once a week, and we kind of do a check-in, make sure everything's going okay. And then we start talking more about long-term goals. And after 30 days, we have, because we do mandatory activity tracking here, how many doors you knocked on, sales, presentations. So after 30 days, we can look at your numbers, and we can basically see to a T what your numbers are and what you need to do to scale up and have long-term goals. And so that's how we do it. But I just want to say this too at the end, for agents who just have to check in with me once a week, they still have access to my calendar. They can still call me when they're in the home. Like, I'm still accessible. But that's basically the plan from new agent, mid-level agent to an agent who's solid and who's got some experience under their belt.
So I think it would be safe to say like a good fit for your division would be an agent that really appreciates the strength that comes from one-on-one training, role
Yeah.
playing, accessibility to a mentor. But then also likes the idea of getting free leads, doesn't want to pay for leads, willing to go do the work behind going face to face, but would rather have the lead cost zero than several thousand plus a month. Is that a good overview?
It is. And especially for new agents, the whole concept of buying leads every week, that's tough for most agents who are new. Like, I think you really got to have a real solid business, like entrepreneurial mindset. Like you gotta know what it is to spend money to make money. Because if you have bad weeks, you got to keep buying leads. You got to keep going, and you got to keep going. And so in the free lead program, we take all of that pressure off your shoulders. And I mean, if you have a bad week, we're not going to ding you. We're going to still buy you leads. I mean, if you're just having a bad month, I mean, that's something to think of. But yeah, I mean, we're buying leads every week. It's just as long as you're putting in the work and you're
And they're
being.
fresh, so everybody understands that at this current time we're filming this, every new agent gets fresh leads to start with on the free lead face-to-face program. So anything you want to add before we wrap it up, and then I'll kind of describe what next steps to take if they like what they hear.
Yeah, I just want to say, if you're an agent out there who you have the drive and you just need some mentorship and you really want to be all in, like, this is the program where it's at. Because I will tell you, just to be honest, I am selective of who I want to take on. And why am I selective? Because if I take someone on the train, like, I'm gonna pour a lot of myself into them. Like, I'm going to spend the time, like I said, an hour and a half every day, and then we're meeting a few hours every week, and you're accessible. You can call me when you need something. I'm just saying, like, I'm really doing a partnership with agents that get invited to the program. So yeah, but if you have the drive and you want the mentorship, man, I'm ready to get this going.
Good. So, guys, if you're interested in this, here's what you need to do. If you go to my website, daviddufour.com, the link should be in the description box below. You'll see an overview of the Dig Agency. Watch that. And then ultimately, at that point, you can get more questions answered below. You'll see a bunch of different other videos as well. We're very much on the due diligence front. We want you to be totally aware of how things work before you pull the trigger. And then if you like what you see, the next step is to attend a live Q&A call. If you have more questions that weren't answered in the video, you'll see the live Q&A link once you're there. Or you can just simply apply. You'll see the application link too, and you'll apply. You'll want to make sure I'm interested in face-to-face and getting free leads. That will trigger our systems to let Joe know to reach out to you and talk to you about how our system works, to set up an interview to see if it is a good fit, because we don't take everybody with a pulse. We're not an MLM like most of them are out there. And then it's typically a week plus turnaround. Just kind of depends on setting up the interview, making sure you're a good fit, doing all that stuff, and then it's game on. So, Joe, thank you very much, guys. Again, if you're interested in face-to-face final expense sales, getting free leads, that's what we do in addition to telesales at the Dig Agency. And again, you can go to daviddufour.com to learn more. Joe, thank you.
Yep. Thanks for having me here.